Welcome back to FryMinis. I'm Eric, and today in our Strixhaven, a curriculum of chaos coverage, we're going to take a look at the in-game game Mage Tower. Okay, so out of all of the videos in our huge playlist of Strixhaven content, the rules for Mage Tower is one of the most requested topics. I didn't know anything about this, so I don't know if this comes from Magic the Gathering, but it's in the book. It's definitely not Quidditch, but doing a video on the rules is not quite as simple as it seems, because Mage Tower is an entire chapter of this book. So we'll cover the actual, like the rules for the game. We'll cover those. But there's a whole bunch of things leading into the game, things that will help expand it. And I don't like to cover story spoilers. I don't like to give away the actual adventure. So we'll hit on a couple of those, but we're not going to go through the entire Mage Tower chapter. One really interesting thing about this chapter, and this is chapter 4, by the way, is it suggests that you can run this entire chapter as a complete standalone adventure. And I completely agree. You have a little bit of a setup, you have a story, and then you have your big payoff at the end. So I think that would be really fun. Personally, I would be far more inclined to run just this chapter as an independent adventure than the entire story for the entire book. I don't super duper love running pre-written adventures, but I think this little section as like a 1, maybe 2 session mini campaign could be really fun. Or of course you could slot it into any like big city or another magical school or organization. Okay, so at a very high level, Mage Tower is a game that characters in the world can play, and you can have kind of leagues and seasons, and you can just play it whenever you want. But there's a big championship that happens every 3 years called the Battle for Strixhaven, and that's kind of what this whole thing leads up to, is the championship. The fundamental rules for the game, everybody has their college mascot, and you want to capture the other team's mascot and bring it back to your base. So it's kind of like capture the flag. So with that high level understanding, let's take a look at the specific rules for the game. Each of the 2 teams has an equal number of students, usually not exceeding 5. Each team is represented by a small mascot creature that reflects one of Strixhaven's colleges, as described in the mascot section. When the game begins, the 2 mascots are placed on high towers at the opposite ends of the field of play. Each team tries to steal the opposing mascot and transport it back to the tower at their end of the field. Doing so scores 1 point. The game occurs in 3 phases of 20 minutes each. The team that scores the most points by the end of the 3rd phase wins the game. Anything that could cause damage to a participant, mascot, or spectator, or that would damage the field of play in any way, is prohibited. Breaking this rule results in expulsion from the game. Questionable use of magic can be called as a foul by the game's referee. A faculty member fills that post during official games. Participants who accumulate 3 fouls are ejected from the game. Teams may not replace participants who foul out. So I like how magic is integrated into this. You can use magic, you just can't damage other people. So things like haste, or Misty Step would be fantastic here. This is kind of the buffing spell kind of dream. So a very, very minor story spoiler here. Very, very minor. This chapter is, at the start of it, is when you actually join one of the colleges and you become a member. And so you have to choose which college you're going to join. And then part of this adventure for this chapter involves you going out and capturing a mascot. And so that's a big section of this, and I think it's really fun. There's a lot of really fun little things that happen in this section. And there's a section of this chapter that covers a practice field. So your players can practice kind of using these rules, along with the characters too, of course. But you can get used to these combat, game rules before the big championship fight. So it's convenient, and I like the maps. They're very nice. They're detailed. I like this style. Also, I won't tell you what, but there are some really, really great magic items, DMG magic items that you can get. Some of my favorite out of all the items in the Dungeon Master's Guide are in this chapter. So I was really excited to see a lot of these. And this is one where it's a little kind of, is it a story thing? Is it a mechanics thing? So I'm going to treat it as a story thing in case you do too. And that way it's erring on the side of safety. There are a bunch of mechanics here in the rules for how to handle like ability checks. So if you want to like shoulder charge into somebody, there are rules for that. And then there are also rules for how to handle it in a slightly more magical way. And I really appreciate that that's in here for that dungeon master that's running this. Because a lot of times it's like, well, yeah, we're doing all this magic stuff. I should maybe have a different way to do things. And it's there. And there are like multiple levels of conditions that you can succeed with. So I think that's really, really neat. I like that a lot. So while the practice arena is nice, it's small, right? It's just exactly like if you were playing any real sport, your practice field is just, it's the B team, right? But the actual stadium, the Strixhaven Stadium, is massive. It's 1,000 feet, and you've got this really great map, and the artwork in the book for it is really nice. I definitely think it might not fit into all D&D games because it's very modern, and that's something I encounter a lot with this book is the stylization maybe. But hey, whatever. We're playing a game, so maybe we can work around it. And if it doesn't work for your group, maybe just reflavor it. So like we covered in the Mage Tower rules, the game is occurring in rounds. And something that I really also appreciate here is that, and I won't show these because we want these to be a surprise when you're playing it, I guess. There are specific, hey, Dungeon Master, on this turn, do this kind of thing. On this turn, make sure this happens. And of course you don't have to, but it has all these great suggestions for different kind of maneuvers that could happen on the field and ideas on how to keep things spicy and everybody on their feet. Okay, so I know this video is a little weird. It might not be exactly what everybody wants. I feel like we're kind of in a compromise, right? We have people who want the kind of story review videos, and then we have people who want the mechanics and spoilers. So I guess we're torn between our player and our DM audience. And so I try to meet kind of in the middle. And so if there's something that you would like a little more information on that we wouldn't cover in like a full video, join us over at discord.gg/FryMinis, and we can talk about it, and we'll go into a little bit more elaborate information there if you'd like. But I think we've hit all the main points on that. This chapter 4, I think, is one of the best chapters in the story adventure. I do like that as a standalone. I think this game is really neat. There are tons of kind of these like mini games throughout. I mean, this is a big game, but there are like mini games, and I'm going to do a couple videos on those. And I don't know. I think this is a lot of fun. This is definitely one of the highlights for me. I still was surprised that this book was so heavy on the adventure itself, but things like this keep that going for me because this is easily transportable into any game. Where I hear a lot of people say, well, it's Strixhaven, you know, it can appear in any universe, any world, but that's the whole school, and there's so much, everything that goes into that. But this is just a game that you can just throw in. And I think harvesting those rules is how I would handle that. Okay, so I hope you, I don't know. This one was a weird one. Okay, so please let me know, would you let your players play this? Would you be interested in playing this? Let me know in the comments. And of course, again, discord.gg/FryMinis. We're so close to that 3,000. I think we're going to get there really soon. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Okay. Thank you, everybody. I'll see you later.